Is this still the best starter wheel in 2022? Let's find out. The Thrustmaster T300 was released all the way back in 2014 for $399 for the standard wheel and 2-pedal set. And whilst it's had various refreshes and new bundles, there's no getting around that this is quite an old wheel. So let's look at the facts. The T300 is a dual belt driven system with a brushless motor that Thrustmaster has said creates no dead zones and also provides stable and dynamic feedback even throughout long gaming sessions. Now, when this was released, it occupied a solid mid-range choice for sim racers, but with further advancements in technology and sim racing hardware from companies such as Fanatec, the T300 is certainly lagging behind a bit. But it's still the choice for many sim racers, including myself. Why is that? Firstly, I want to talk about price. The original release price for this wheel was $399, but because of different deals and bundles you can find all over the place these days, when I bought my bundle, about a year ago, I got the T300 base plus the Ferrari 599XX wheel and the T3PA pedals, all for $340 new. Now that's an add-on wheel and a pedal set for $60 less than MSRP, and I live in a market where products are usually more expensive than MSRP. Now if you look around Europe, the UK or the States, you can get a T300 for an absolute bargain, and that's not even considering looking at used hardware. At this point in its life cycle, you can get a lot of bang for your buck, or just save a bunch of cash and use that to upgrade your pedals, or just buy, one track on iRacing. Secondly, availability. You can go out right now and buy a T300 and have it with you today. Amazing concept, right? You buy a product and you get it straight away. For comparison, if you want the CSL DD, pre-orders are opening up in March. Pre-orders. You'll still have to wait for that. With the T300, you can get the wheel and get down to the most important part of this hobby, racing. So what's the T300 feel like then? For context, before this I used a G29 for over a year, plus I've used quite a few Fanatec products over the last year. Check out my CSL DD review. So I've got a good benchmark of what other wheels feel like. Now the T300 gives me plenty of detail, enough to comfortably race around, and the force feedback is strong enough to let me know it's there. But that's about it. Now remember, it's a belt driven system, so it's never going to be as accurate as or as powerful as a DD. But if all you want to do is get out onto the track and go racing, then this does the job perfectly well enough. Now of course you're going to have more feeling on a direct drive wheelbase, and I know this because I do a lot of practice on my wheel at home and then race on a DD1, and I find myself making less mistakes on the DD1. But it's not as night and day as the price would suggest. Most of the time I don't even run the T300 at full power, and it's still got plenty of power. Because let's be honest, if you're going to race for a couple of hours, do you really want to spend those hours feeling like the wheel's going to rip your arms off? I drive for 4 to 5 hours at a time, and it's nice to get off the sim and not feel completely exhausted. And because of that, you can put the wheel comfortably clamped to a desk without you being worried that it's going to destroy your desk. For the best part of the year I had this clamped to the desk, and it's only in the last month or so that I've been racing on the rig. When it comes time to putting it on the rig, the wheelbase has 2 easy mounting points for screws. I had no issue mounting it to my Trak Racer RS6. Now in terms of the actual wheel rim, I've only ever used the Alcantara Ferrari wheel on my rig, but to say it's one of the most comfortable wheels I've ever used is not a lie. It's not perfect by any means, and it definitely could use some more buttons, but it's been used and abused for a year and it's still holding up pretty nicely. It's a great size and a great shape, and I've used it for all kinds of things from F1 to rally to GT racing. Now for the downsides. Although I do love this wheel, it's certainly not without its negatives. So here we go. Firstly, the shifters. The amount of play that's in the shift paddles is extremely annoying. You've got quite a few millimeters before the paddle actually engages, and it's super annoying, along with this really cheap noise that they make. I really wish Thrustmaster would offer a paddle upgrade of some sort. Yes, I know there are probably DIY solutions on the internet, but I'd rather have something, official. It doesn't make it undrivable, but it certainly is noticeable. Secondly, the quick release, or at least Thrustmaster's idea of a quick release. Now, I know this isn't a high-end product, but that cheap quick release system they've got on these wheels is awful. And I've often had times where it comes loose during a race, and that's really worrying considering that all these wheels are going to be compatible with the direct drive wheel when it releases. I mean, having to hold one hand on the wheel and the other to screw your quick release all while you're hurtling down the Kemmel Straight at Spa is certainly not the best experience I've ever had. Now, I know a lot of people online have had issues with the T300 getting too hot and not putting out its maximum force feedback. I've actually never experienced this issue, and I do think it is something that Thrustmaster have addressed and fixed over the years. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the pedals. The T3 PA pedals are the ones that I got bundled with my wheel, and from the looks of things these days, it seems like the ones that are bundled with most of the wheels. Now, these are potentiometer pedals, meaning that your braking force is measured by the distance travelled, not by the pressure, as it would be in a real car. You can easily be very fast with these kind of pedals, and many people are, but I certainly think it's difficult to be fast and consistent with them. That disclaimer out the way, I think that these are a pretty decent set of pedals for what they are. I find them easier to use than the Logitech ones, and although mostly plastic, they don't actually look terrible. Now, would I recommend these pedals? Well, yes, if you're getting them in a bundle, but if you're going to buy pedals separately, just go with load cell. Thrustmaster makes a set that I would love to try out, but if you'd like to spend a bit more money, just go with the Heusenfeld Sprints. I reviewed them a couple of weeks ago, have a look at that. All in all, I do love this wheel. Maybe it's because it's on my home setup, or it was on my first rig, or maybe because it was my first PC sim racing wheel. Or maybe it's just a damn good wheel. In a world of direct drives and all this fancy new hardware being released, the T300 holds its own in the market. If you're looking to get started in sim racing, skip the G29 and jump on this, because with the ecosystem that Thrustmaster offers, you'll have options to swap wheels and upgrade pedals. Something that's going to last you for a while, and when you're happy with the hobby, then you can start to upgrade. See, I've been sim racing for a couple of years now, and my next upgrade is probably going to be some load cell pedals or a direct drive wheel. The T300 is really going to be a special wheel to me, and to a lot of people, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it about a special piece of equipment for me. If you want to keep up to date with any other reviews or racing I'm doing, why not subscribe to the channel, or you can follow me on the socials. They'll be down in the description below. And until next time I see you,